Mr. Chairman, Madam the Chair Lady, the Chief Launchers, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. I stand here this afternoon, humbled but honored to be in your midst. It is difficult, but I must say that my emotions are mixed. On the one hand, I am sad because I will be parting company with my baby today. A baby I have nursed and nurtured for the past 15 years. Yet I have deemed it necessary that it is mature enough and should go out and meet the world and be one of the models for the society. On the other hand, I am happy and excited like a 6-year-old child on Christmas Eve. But by nature, my happiness will hardly show. My grandmother used to tell me that animals tend to express their emotions more than we humans do. If I were a dog, you would have noticed my happiness by the wagging of the tail. When in the early years of my life, some circumstances placed me under the care of my grandparents, little did I know that something was cooking in the heavenly pots. It was from them that I learned so many things about life. For instance, I was told that generations ago, our forefathers were living in organized societies and led exemplary lives with great moral rectitude. I was made to understand that in those days, there was no secrecy or privacy, that you did not need to lock your door while away from home, and that men and women usually moved about naked, and yet there was no sexual immorality. That was long ago, before the missionaries came and Christianity put forth a set of rules that man was to follow if he had to be in good terms with God. The colonial masters also came and defined a set of principles that were to govern states and their citizens. Thus, one would have expected that life and morality should get better as each day passes, but it unfortunately is not the case. Moral standards have continued to fall, and the level of immorality gradually reaching the peak, especially amongst the youth. On their part, some parents have failed to take their responsibility, but others have been up to the task. In Biame, my hometown, the situation is not the least different. You find poor parents who are willing to educate their children, but they end up dropping out because of one flimsy excuse or the other. They eventually remain at home, smoking, gambling, stealing, and doing all sorts of bad things. The youths, in actual fact, must be conscious of the basic expectations their parents and the society need from them. They must be conscientious, humble, obedient, and responsible in order to succeed in life. They must never fail to listen to their elders, for wisdom is the fuel of life. It is needed for every step we take or move we make, yet little or none of it is innate, and we are bound to acquire it by our positive interaction with others, especially the elderly, for experience of life is synonymous to wisdom. My sojourn with my grandparents helped me a lot in this aspect. My grandmother in particular is a woman of great wisdom, so poetic and figurative in her language, and above all, a good storyteller. I remember a time I came back from the university looking lean and weak. She welcomed me and was not happy the way I looked. When she asked me what had happened, I said it was due to malaria and hunger. I was speaking and moving towards the backyard. When she asked where I was going, I said I was pressed. Then she laughed and told me that if I could be complaining of hunger and still be praised, it means at least I was having a bit to eat. That evening, I overheard her telling her friend that I had returned from Boya, looking like they had seized me from a colony of ants. From time to time, she would rebuke her dog, Trouble, for allowing stray animals into the compound and would, in her anger, forbid the dog from wagging near her, referring to the dog's face as having the color of the Kebaranko. When she had first acquired the dog as a puppy, she immediately called it Trouble, meaning trouble, and I was curious. She told me that once the little dog, being of the female sex, reached maturity, it would begin to attract the wildest males into the compound. This was the woman I grew up with, and everything about her was a source of inspiration for me. In fact, she is one of the characters in the novel. Her wisdom in particular gave me a base of life that we are celebrating today, that of always striving to be morally upright no matter the circumstance. It was for this reason that 15 years ago, after observing what was happening amongst the youths of my hometown, I decided to do something about it and immediately put my pen on paper with the hope of contributing in my own humble way to the betterment of our society. And today I am happy that my efforts have come to fruition and my dream a reality. In addition to handling the issue of juvenile delinquency, which is the main theme, the book has also frowned on other ills plaguing our society today, namely corruption, gender inequality, and drug abuse. It is my greatest wish that as many youths as possible should read this story and tap something from the numerous lessons that abound in it. I am fully aware of the reading culture of Cameroonians, which has fallen drastically in recent years, probably due to the advent of the internet, the mobile phone, satellite TV, and other means of entertainment. But books have their unshakable place in our lives. Literary works, especially fiction, nourish the brain and mold the mind. Not only do they entertain and teach us, but they also educate and furnish us with wisdom. While in secondary school, precisely in Form 3, we were made by the English language teacher to read at least 3 novels every week, after which we would give a summary of each novel and a series of opinions about the various characters in it. We would grumble at times, but were forced to do it because it was part of his evaluations. How I wish I could meet him today to congratulate him and tell him what I have become because of his initiative. It is then obvious that the importance of reading as an extracurricular activity cannot be overemphasized. Each and every one here is either a parent or a would-be parent. We should take it a responsibility to keep a small library at home and stock it with fiction books, especially novels for the children. The more they read these books, the more they come across various experiences of life and tap some wisdom from them. Another important aspect of reading, especially for the learner, is that in the course of reading, you get versed with spellings of words and their use, learn new words and expressions that seep into your subconscious mind. The end result is a great improvement in both written and spoken English. There is one experience I came across in the course of writing. From time to time, I found myself using a word that sounded unfamiliar to me at first, but when I consulted the dictionary, I would discover that it suited the context. Those are the benefits of reading, and they do not only trickle naturally down to the academic performance of the learner, but also go a long way to improve self confidence and esteem. I cannot end without throwing more light on the title of the novel. A ladder generally gives the impression of height, and if it has to break, then a fall is imminent and someone's hopes dashed to the rock. That is to say that somewhere along the plot of the novel, there is a disappointment. It is left for the reader to find out what went wrong with the ladder before it broke and the aftermath of the breakage. The breaking of the ladder also connotes two falling standards, especially amongst the youth, namely morals and English, which are the raison d'etre of the book. Finally, before I read one of my favorite passages in the novel, I would like to thank my wife and children who accompanied me through the long and tedious journey. I equally thank those who have contributed in one way or the other to the success of this event. I am particularly indebted to the various editors, especially Mr. Hassan Yosimbom, a lecturer of English language in the University of Boya, and Mr. Buma Charles Ndi. Not forgetting Mrs. Genevieve Benkum, Miss Komita Cynthia, and Mrs. Amawa Elizabeth, all teachers of English language and literature. I salute Mr. Sir Edwin, the chairman of this occasion, for his encouragements and advice. I also acknowledge the mentorship of the following elders: Mr. Gotthard Nze, Dr. Mbenkum Tobias, and Mrs. Njeba Evelyn. I also greet and salute Mr. Bushu Bartholomew, my friend and publisher of this work. I am deeply grateful to God for giving me the inspiration and any talents that I might have employed in the course of writing the book. Once more, I thank everyone for coming.